What's up, family? Welcome in. I return this time to address the matter of slavery in Kemet. So, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I will be starting off around the 6-minute mark as always. That way people have the opportunity to come in. But in the meanwhile, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Today's topic of the live stream will be no slavery in Kemet. Come in, hit the like, share, and subscribe. Today is no slavery in Kemet. I will be starting this momentarily. So hit that like button, subscribe, share it, let everybody know that I'm going live with the truth. So sit back, relax, and get ready. One of the biggest lies told about Kemet is that it practiced slavery. In reality, Kemet stood in direct opposition to slavery, and its spiritual system explicitly condemned the enslavement of human beings. Because of this, it is imperative that any dissension about African excellence in Kemet be eliminated from any teaching environment that is meant for the empowerment of Black people. I want to reiterate that it is very important to eliminate this from any teaching that is meant to empower Black people. I want to first point out that the source of the foolishness that says that there was slavery in Kemet comes directly from the biblical narrative, and it is amplified in modern times from the Ten Commandments movie that was made in 1956. As you can see, that movie that was made all the way back in 1956 is the greatest story Hollywood ever told. And it became the greatest story that Hollywood ever sold. The myth is on the left and the reality is on the right. I want us to keep this in mind as we move forward during this presentation. I want to also let it be known that in real world history, there is no evidence that Kemet enslaved any Hebrews or Israelites. I will leave this here momentarily so that you can read over it. Specifically, there are no Kemetic records that make any mention of any migration, and no record of any departure. I want to also let it be known that the driving force for the propaganda and the negative sentiment about Kemet and it having slavery, just like all the other nations in ancient times, is definitely from the biblical canon, and Europeans continue to prop up the propaganda even in academics. If we do our analysis, if we start our analysis on the matter of slavery in Kemet, three main references from all references that you get from American academics will tell you that they did have slavery. However, when you read through these, the scale of slavery is always uncertain, and the presence of slavery is always uncertain. A prime example of that is when you see slavery in Egypt, and then you read on and it only talks about criminals and captives. The scale of slavery is not certain. Again, going on a general web inquiry, we find that Google is also uncertain. And it reminds us that there is no evidence that any Hebrews or Jews or Israelites built the pyramids. So, to sum it up, Europeans or mainstream academia is uncertain on whether Kemet had slavery or not. So we're going to investigate all the evidence of labor that took place in Kemet. We're going to explore what the people of Kemet said about the labor class. And we're going to first highlight the 6th dynasty. The 6th dynasty is well known for attestation to non-violence, the fair treatment, and even the generosity towards the general public. We have these attestations by many of the rulers of nomes in Kemet. Governors and nomes in Kemet are known as Hatyas. I'm going to leave this here so you can read over it and copy it if you need to. I want to also point out Sinumut's inscription, his biographical inscription. He gives attestation to his upbringing, so we have bust and biographical inscriptions and attestations from the elites of Kemet talking about the treatment and their upbringing. I want to also point out master builder, a master pyramid builder of the Old Kingdom, known as Nekhbu. He has an attestation, and it reads, "Never did I beat any man so that he fell by my hand. Never did I enslave any people there." This is the attestation of a master pyramid builder from the Old Kingdom. Nekhbu and his oath is a vital piece of evidence to show that slavery did not exist in Kemet. And again, to point out the obvious, slaves do not get apologies, workers do. I want to also point out that there is various ways other than the bus to determine the conditions in Kemet. I'm going to leave this here momentarily, and then I'm going to go over it. So on these records, we have 2 Kemetic records on each side. In the center is a Roman record, and this is a comparison. On the left, we have record of strike. Workers went on strike in Kemet, and as a result of the strike, the conditions got better. On the right, we have highlights from the 42 negative confessions. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. And in the center, we have evidence of Roman conditions for the working class. What we are looking at now is a mural. This mural shows the labor class in Kemet. As you can see, they are unbound. They are actually working in unison, using tools. And here we are. This tomb that holds the mural goes back to 1450 BCE. This is yet another scholarly indication of the absence of slavery in Kemet. I also want to address the stele that is being misrepresented to show evidence of slavery in Kemet. If anybody was to look at this at first glance, they would say, yeah, that's definitely evidence of slavery in Kemet. But remember, the only things that indicate slavery in Kemet from the American academic or mainstream academic viewpoint is captives. So again, this is a stele of captives that is often misrepresented by those who want to claim that the Kemet had a slave market or a slave working class. This is untrue, simply for obvious reasons. Before I get into those reasons, I want you to take a close look at all the details that are in this mural. For starters, you can see that the subjects that are sitting down, that are obviously being detained and controlled are unbound. They have no chains, no ropes binding them. They also have their royal attire still on them. So I say that to obviously remind you that evidence of slavery is evidence of slavery, and evidence of detainment and captivity is evidence of detainment and captivity. You should always separate the two. If you further want to investigate this, the relief itself is called the tomb relief of Nubian prisoners. It is not called the tomb relief of Nubian slaves. This relief is currently being held at the Civic Museum of Bologna. And once again, the subjects are unbound and still in their royal attire. And with this, we once again have indication that there is no evidence of slavery in Kemet. Just as a person who is detained and held in custody before a court case is not considered a slave, then so does the same thing go for a captive or a detainee in Kemet, especially if they are unbound and still in their royal attire. I want to focus on the most obvious. The most obvious indicator that Kemet was devoid of slavery is the sacred principle of Ma'at. The principle of Ma'at in of itself is counterproductive to slavery, and I want to point certain things out. I want to highlight the book called Ma'at, the moral ideal that outlawed slavery. The book is actually called Ma'at, the moral ideal in ancient Egypt. It is by Maulana Karenga. In this book, he correctly translates the 42 negative confessions, and he notes that in two different versions, you have the negative confession of I have not enslaved and I have not extorted within the 42 negative confessions. So while the mainstream and Egyptologists are quiet about this, Maulana Karenga has produced this scholarship for us to know that Kemet was devoid of slavery. And if you did not know, Maulana Karenga is a scholar of Africana studies. He is a pioneer. He is the founder of Kwanzaa. So, Dr. Maulana Karenga is very important in the matter of slavery in Kemet, being that it was absent. I will be closing out soon, but before I do, I will highlight some important artifacts that specifically give us evidence that there was no slavery in Kemet. Again, we have the attestation of Nekobu, the master pyramid builder. We have the autobiography of Winnie the Elder. Winnie the Elder was a elite of the 6th dynasty. I want to point out the autobiographical attestation from Senetmut's bust. And I want to point out the negative oath from multiple elites of the 6th dynasty. Before I close out, I also want to highlight Theobald Obanga's book called Ancient Egypt and Black Africa. In this book, he mentions the social relations in Kemet, as well as gender relations. He highlights the fair treatment of women and the equal rights and power of women. I'm mentioning this book because if slavery was present in Kemet, it would be mentioned in a book that summarizes the social lifestyle of the Kemeti youth. And you don't find that in this book. Instead, you find other fascinating things about gender equality, the labor class, and philosophy. And slavery and extortion is absent in Kemetic philosophy. It's absent in the spiritual tradition. It is explicitly prohibited, as we just found out. Like, share, and subscribe. I will be closing out soon. Like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I will come back next week with another live feed or another live stream. Meanwhile, definitely, I do take donations. The QR code is on the top left. If you don't have access to the QR code, it is scrolling. The Cash App is scrolling on the bottom of the screen.